The sun beamed down over Ravenstone Avenue, spilling warm, golden light across its immaculate outdoor tables, a place reserved for the city's elite. Luxury cars hummed quietly along the cobblestones, while waiters in crisp white shirts moved gracefully between tables. The air carried the delicate aroma of fresh bread and herbs, wrapping the street in a comforting embrace. At one of these tables sat Aaron Whitlock, a billionaire whose reputation in the business world was unmatched, a man who had seen it all and believed nothing could shock him anymore. That belief shattered the instant a small, disheveled girl came running toward him, her wide eyes filled with fear, cheeks streaked with dirt, hair tangled from nights spent without comfort. She lifted a shaking hand toward his plate and cried out with every ounce of strength she could muster. Before we move forward, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it right now? And don't forget to like and subscribe to Blackened, wronged for more heart-touching stories. Let's get started. For a few tense seconds, the entire restaurant froze. Patrons held their cutlery midair, stunned to see a small girl in tattered clothes, standing in the midst of Ravenstone Avenue's luxury. Aaron Whitlock's gaze fell on her. Sharp and uncertain, was she lost? Pleading or just desperate? Her outfit was worn and patched, the thin fabric barely protecting her from the chill, and her tiny feet were scratched and dirtied from long walks. She trembled not just from fatigue but from fear. She could not have been more than 9. Yet it was her eyes wide, frantic, silently begging that made even a man like Aaron hesitate. He had been trained to value control above all, and yet here was disorder personified in a child. Her name was Celeste, though she had not yet uttered it. For the past 3 weeks she had survived alone, scavenging through trash, evading hostile vendors, and hiding from dangerous men roaming the dark corners of abandoned streets. She had no one. Celeste's mother had disappeared just 2 nights earlier, leaving her with only a small, worn-out bag containing a few dry crumbs, hoping she could find help before it was too late. Moments before she dashed toward Aaron Whitlock, she had been searching the narrow alley behind the upscale restaurants on Ravenstone Avenue, desperate for anything useful. That's when she noticed a man slipping out from a kitchen's side door, glancing around as if afraid of being caught. From his pocket, he produced a small vial, poured its contents into the bowl prepared for Aaron, and melted back into the busy street before anyone could see. Celeste saw him clearly, a tall, thin figure with a jagged scar across his neck and hands that shook. There was something in his gaze that chilled her. He hadn't come to serve food. He had come to do harm. She didn't know the identity of the man at the table. She didn't know what was in that vial. But the dangers she'd already faced in life made her instinct scream. She had to run. Celeste forced every ounce of energy left in her tiny body and dashed into the golden sunlight, weaving between waiters and shouting the only words her frightened mind could summon. Now standing before Aaron Whitlock, she trembled, her chest burning, desperate to convey a warning in the only way she knew how. Aaron's brow furrowed, suspecting a trick or a ploy for food. Around them, the diners whispered in irritation at the sudden disturbance. A security guard quickly approached, ready to escort her away. But just as he reached out, Aaron noticed something unusual. Celeste wasn't grabbing at the meal, she was pulling him back from it. Her wide eyes held no greed, no deceit, only pure terror. He paused, and that single moment of doubt spared him. The head waiter, flustered, theatrically lifted the plate and sniffed it, trying to display calm confidence. But in an instant, everything shifted. Aaron Whitlock's eyes glistened with unshed tears, his hands quivering uncontrollably. He leaned slightly toward a nearby waiter, murmuring urgent words that sent them rushing inside. Moments later, the restaurant manager emerged, face pale, nerves raw, and sweat dripping. And then, the chef himself burst out, shouting for everyone to move back. The bowl was snatched away as if it were a live bomb. Aaron's pulse pounded so loudly he could hear it in his ears. The chef, visibly shaken, explained that the dish had been laced with a dangerous toxin, capable of causing serious harm or worse if ingested. Aaron's mind spun. Threats from business rivals weren't unheard of, but this was terrifying. But this moment was different. Danger lingered quietly, hidden in something as ordinary as a salad bowl, and Aaron Whitlock would have eaten it without a second thought. If not for a small barefoot girl screaming under the glaring sun, time seemed to stretch. Aaron looked at Celeste again. Really looked this time, noticing the bruises, the hunger in her eyes, the weariness, and that fragile hope that someone, anyone, might finally believe her. She had put herself at risk to save him, a complete stranger, a billionaire whose life would have never crossed hers. He asked how she knew, and in her trembling voice, she described the dark alley, the men, the danger. She told him about her mother vanishing, about nights spent shivering on cold streets, about being turned away wherever she sought refuge. She never broke down, even as her voice quivered. Life had taught her tears were useless. Aaron felt something stir inside him, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. A tight knot gripped his chest. A sharp ache pricked behind his eyes. He had conquered worlds of wealth. Yes, but somewhere along the way, he had lost sight of what it meant to be truly human. Authorities arrived swiftly. The staff revealed that the intruder was a recently dismissed employee, known for a violent past. Celeste hadn't just protected Aaron Whitlock. She had uncovered a danger that might have harmed many more. The officers, struck by her bravery, spoke gently with her. When they asked where she stayed, her answer came in a whisper, fragile and heart-wrenching, nowhere. Because Mama hadn't returned. Those who had earlier watched with irritation now murmured, moved and amazed by her courage. Aaron Whitlock moved slowly, slipping off his coat and draping it over Celeste's frail shoulders. It settled around her like a protective blanket. For the first time since her mother had disappeared, warmth reached her. He guided her across Ravenstone Avenue to a quiet cafe, ordered her proper hot food, and listened. Every tiny detail she could recall about her mother, the building she had searched, the last place she had been seen. Aaron absorbed it all. With the calm authority of someone who controlled immense resources, he made her a single promise. She would never face this alone again. That very afternoon, detectives began searching. By the evening, as the sun sank behind the city skyline, they discovered Celeste's mother, alive but hurt, trapped in a collapsed storage room where she had fallen 2 nights before. She had banged on the metal door, but no one had heard. Though hope had faded, her love for Celeste endured. When Celeste ran into her arms, crying freely for the first time in days, her mother hugged her as if she would never let go. Aaron stood a few steps away, his heart heavy with emotion, realizing how the smallest voices often carry the bravest courage. If this story moved you, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Black and Wronged. Tell us in the comments what you would have done if you were in Aaron's shoes. As daylight dimmed, sirens softened, and relief spread through the street. A billionaire who had always seemed untouchable learned that even the strongest can be rescued by those with the tiniest spark of courage. And a little girl who had nearly lost everything found hope, help, and her mother again, all because she spoke the words that changed everything.